Welcome to this second chapter. It's titled as History of Human Relations and Organization Behavior. It's talking about how the OB movement started, how people started giving importance to to human beings as an important resource in the organization. See, one must remember that all this scientific way of understanding behavior came from the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution took place, we had the mechanization of industry. Machines came into existence and they were all efficiency boosters. So what a person used to do alone, a machine did in multiples. So just as machines multiplied, manpower also multiplied. The number of people required were also more. And when people came more in numbers, issues that were related to people were not envisaged. Nobody thought that there could be problems coming out of human beings. In that direction, nobody looked. Gradually, what happened at the workplace, the human element started interfering. And it was noticed by some people who were called as behavioral scientists. These are the people who study behavior in a scientific manner. Theoretically, behavior is scientific. But in practice, you cannot feel the science of behavior because it doesn't follow the scientific laws. Which means there is something more in behavior than what we are trying to research. It's almost like the weather. So when you can't predict the weather, right? Now, weather is not unscientific, but the science of the weather is still not captured by mankind. Similarly, the science of behavior, which is not a perfect science, is yet to be captured by mankind. Everybody is doing different types of research. We are almost nearing to something like a predictability of human behavior, but we really can't predict human behavior. None of us can do that. As a trainer, I've been a trainer for the last about more than 15 years, 14 years. And one thing I have noticed is every time I think that I am knowing something about behavior, in comes a surprise to tell me, look, there is something more than what you think you know. So it's a long journey that keeps going on and on to understand behavior. So taking it to the very first slide, let's introduce. So what are we going to be studying in this chapter? We shall understand concepts of human relations and organization behavior. The term HR, not human resources, but human relations. We'll be discussing that. Interdisciplinary nature of OB, organization behavior. Why OB? What's the purpose of knowing OB? We'll be discussing theory X and theory Y of Douglas MacGregor. And we'll be wrapping it up with the future of OB as we know at that point when we wrote the book. Right? Let's start off the very first introduction, organization and the individual. The organization and the individual. Individual behavior affects and is affected by several factors. I have spoken about this in the first chapter. So I as an individual is impacted by several factors around me and also within me. After I get affected, I display a behavior. And this behavior of mine affects you as well. So I get affected and I affect others. It's a mutuality principle. It's mutual. In a room of say 10 people, if 2 people are feeling extremely low and the remaining 8 people are in a good mood, there's a likelihood that these 2 people will come to the good mood or the 8 people may go to the bad mood. It's possible. So we impact each other based on the behaviors that we choose to adopt. Right? There are 3 factors that principally affect individual behavior in an organization. The actions which are taken, the structure of the organization, who's reporting to whom, what's the organization nature, what are the different types of metrics of connections which we have for getting work done, and finally the context. What could be a behavior in one context A may not be a behavior in another context B. For example, I'm working in my desk in my department I may have a behavior in that context of a committed person who is a no-nonsense person. But when I go to for the lunch break, context is different. I take it easy. After the lunch break, I may go to the gym and start playing a table tennis, or I may play some billiards or something. So, depending upon the context, the structure to which you belong and the actions that are taken, our behavior gets affected. This is the framework given there. There's a triangle given in the book in one of the pages. You can refer to that. In a global world, as we know, which we are in the global working today, human beings carry the center stage in any business. There was a time we had the economy driven by industry, by production. So machines were the focus. Then came machine and people. People started partially being given importance. Then came a time when people have been given major importance and machines have been given less importance. Now what has happened is people matter, only people matter. And when you focus on people majorly, then they can build machines, they can do anything, they can write software programs and things like that. Right? Now, the interplay of roles in an organization, also called human dynamics, is quite complex. We are playing different roles in the organization. Right? There are senior managers, there are people at the middle management level, there are junior level people, supervisors, workmen, etc. Each one is playing a role. Now, when we are playing a role in an organization, there's a purpose behind it. There's a goal. And we are joining an organization to play a role to achieve a goal, so that all the goals of all the different people who are playing the roles is finally making the organization achieve its goal, capital G. So we have our small goals G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, and all this integrated becomes a capital G of the organization. So the interplay of roles. I have a role to play, you have a role to play. I am from operations, you are from quality control. So both of us have got a role to play. I have to do my duty, I have to achieve my goal G1, you have to achieve your goal G2. Now in this achievement of the goal, where is the focus? The focus is on the goal. So I am goal focused, you are also goal focused. Both of us are working towards the company's goals. But all of us have noticed, when I am goal centric only and you are also goal centric only, then between the two of us, we may tend to ignore certain behavioral aspects of each other unless you come to a level of maturity. So I may take you for granted. I have an urgency to deliver this material to the godown as a production person. So to play my role, I come to the quality control, whom I think is sitting on the materials. The quality check is not yet over, and I scream at them because I am committed to the pressure of delivering it to the warehouse or the godown. The QC person in turn will scream back at me saying that, how do you expect me to pass something which is not being checked? So both of us are working towards the company goals. The QC person is doing his goal G2, I am doing the goal G1. Both of us are not wrong in shouting at each other. Wrong, inverted commas. But when we shout at each other, it suddenly occurs to us, or it actually happens that both start getting hurt, they don't cooperate, and they get into a conflict. Now this part of human element is something that needs to be understood. Now this element is the interplay of roles in an organization. It is also called as human dynamics. It's very complex. It's very complex. It's not predictable. I gave you an example only about two people, A and B, operations, production, and a quality control person. And imagine the type of people we are networking and dealing with every day. And when we are dealing with people every day, we all know that to get things done, today it's common knowledge to us that to get things done, we need to have a appropriate behavior of respectfulness, assertiveness, making people feel good and engaging them into a group activity. When we don't do this, we have seen the disastrous results. So the starting point of this particular OB was the time when they realized the importance of human beings as the center stage of all economic growth. Today it is known to all of us, people matter. It's only people who matter. And when people are there, you take care of people, they can move mountains, they can actually create huge projects by their sheer motivation, by their sheer willpower and their sheer efforts and motivation. Another term used to explain this dynamics is what we are talking about, organization behavior, also abbreviated as OB for the sake of discussions. OB is defined as an interdisciplinary behavioral science. It's a behavioral science which is contributed by a number of disciplines, number of approaches, number of pure sciences, right? OB is defined as an interdisciplinary behavioral science studying phenomena related to human dynamics of an organization. Why do people do what they do? Why does a person behave the way he behaves? In spite of giving him all the money, why is he not happy? Why is it that this person, in spite of shouting and screaming at him, he is very cool and yet he performs? So there is a lot of why about human behavior, which this particular thing studies and gives you some pathways, if not answers, to understand human behavior. Taking it further, every organization has got 3 subunits. An organization is an organization because it has 3 subunits. One is a technical, second is a social, the third one is an economic. Every organization is a social entity. Every organization is a social entity. It means what? An organization is present because society wants it. An organization caters to certain needs of society in a very defined and a very focused manner. The organization V-School, where you guys are enrolled, is a social entity. A large section of society wanted quality B-School education, and this need was noticed, and we have V-School here. So organization V-School and the students who are enrolled, it's an interdependent equation. Students need V-School and V-School also needs students. This is how this synergy takes place. So organization is existing for students who enroll for the to V-School. At the same time, V-School, the students are existing for the organization as far as their needs are concerned. So what is the purpose of an organization? It is to cater to the needs of their society. So we are into our V-School is the technical aspect of V-School is B-School education. So that's a technical aspect. So the line of business or the line of activity into which the organization is a technical aspect of the organization. The purpose for which we are here. A soft drink manufacturing company is in the business of soft drink as a technical aspect of their organization. Next comes the social aspect. Social aspect is the people aspect. The web of relationships we have within the organization and outside the organization, all of them making the organization do what it is wanting to do. The social aspect, the human aspect. And finally the economic aspect, which is all about profits, which is about every organization is there for the purpose of giving some goods or services to society. In return, it gets a certain fee, which is coming in the form of a sales margin or whatever you call it. At the end of it, organizations need to churn out profits. If they make profits, they will be in a position to thrive, grow, and also make their employees happy. They would also be in a position to give the promised goods and services to their various customers. They would be in a position to be competitive and many other areas of existence. Now these 3 goals, it's a triangle. We have a social context, there is a technical context and an economic context to every organization. Now these coordinate human and material resources to achieve their goals. These goals could be to make profits, to produce goods and provide services, to compete in the marketplace, excel and do better than the competitor, to ensure well-being of the staff, keep them motivated, keep them happy, provide them employee welfare, to achieve stability, continuity and growth. To achieve stability, continuity and growth. right? Taking it further, let's define definition of human relations and OB. There are a few definitions of human relations and OB, one of which says, open inverted commas, motivating people in organizational settings to develop teamwork which accomplishes individual as well as organization goals effectively. Motivating people in organizational setting to develop teamwork which accomplishes individual as well as organization goals effectively. Quoted by Keith Davis, another author of an OB textbook. Right? Now, what are the key points? First is motivating people. So, the purpose of OB is to motivate, to understand what's motivation. The backbone of the whole study of OB is motivation. Right? Motivating people in an organizational setting. What is an organizational setting? An organizational setting is a control setting. I'm talking to you right now, I am in an organizational setting. There's a start and a finish to this lecture. I need to put myself into a discipline. Human beings are not naturally disciplined, they love freedom. If I have to put myself into a discipline here and talk to you, then I need to have a certain level of motivation. So in an organizational setting, people come and work giving away their natural personal freedom. And to make them come there and get motivated, sit in a confined space with certain rules, certain goals to be achieved which are defined, and also time frame. These are the constraints, the discipline to which human beings are not naturally tuned. We learn it over a period of time. Now, if somebody has to sit for long hours and study, long hours and do some work, long hours of training, then he or she needs to have motivation. So, motivation in an organizational setting. The purpose of doing that is what? To develop teamwork. People have to come together and work in a team. I have explained in chapter number 1 how my behavior affects your behavior, and we need to work with harmony and effectiveness. Harmony and mutual respect and effectiveness. Now, if that has to happen, it will happen for the purpose of team work. The other key word in this is individual goal as well as organization goal. When I go to the organization and I know behavior of mine and the various factors that are driving my behavior, I also tend to know your behavior and the various factors that are driving your behavior. When every one of us are aware about their behaviors and the factors that drive their behaviors, and they are also aware of the behaviors of others with whom they are working and the factors that are driving their behaviors, what happens? The organization goals are taken care of. Surely. Organization goals anyway get taken care of because of the discipline to which we are subjected to. But what is this individual goal? Individual goal is when I come and work in the organization for 8 hours, I must feel good about myself. I have my personal dreams of taking back the wages, the compensation that the company gives me into my personal life. With that, I have my individual KRAs to also to be achieved. If all these things I can achieve with a lot of joy, with a lot of motivation, with a lot of love and satisfaction, will it not be a great thing to happen? I would go to the extent of saying in this definition that the individual goal have to be very importantly achieved. And it has been seen that people who come and achieve their individual goal expand themselves to achieve organizational goals as well. This is a noticeable fact in many organizations. So, once again, I would like to read this. The definition of OB given by Keith Davis says, motivating people in an organizational setting to develop teamwork which accomplishes individual as well as organization goals. One definition. The second definition says, which is stated by Fred Luthans, another author of a OB textbook, the understanding, prediction and the management of human behavior in organizations is termed as OB according to Fred Luthans. Understanding, very important. Do you understand me? This is a question we ask. Somebody behaves in a manner which is little difficult for you to absorb. His behavior is a little wild and you are a very quiet person. But that wild behavior, when you understand why he is behaving wild, then it doesn't remain wild anymore. You agree or not? People behave the way they behave because the behaviors work. Make a note. People behave the way they behave because their behaviors work. If the behavior is not working towards the goals which they are accomplishing or they want to accomplish, if the behaviors are not working towards the goals that they are accomplishing or they wish to accomplish, then what are they supposed to do? They need to change their behavior. Do people change the behavior on their own? Very rarely. People change their behavior only when there is a compulsion, when there is an external pressure, when there is a push. Very few people are self-driven, realize that they need to change their behavior and they change their behavior. One more reason for which people don't change behavior is because they make a habit of the behavior. It's a habit, and habits are quite tough, quite challenging to remove. Okay? So, the understanding is the first dimension. Second dimension is prediction. To a fairly good extent, not totally, I could predict if I learn OB about how a person could behave. A prediction. In the absence of nothing, I have something, although it is not totally 100% foolproof. But yet, I am a little better off than what I would be if I had zero knowledge about OB. Second part is prediction. I could more or less predict. When I predict, I am prepared. When I am prepared, I can act in a much more effective manner. In spite of that, there are surprises with human behavior. You expect a boss to be extremely aggressive with you because that is the behavior he's been exhibiting throughout. So you go one afternoon to his cabin, hoping the usual fireworks, the usual tremor which you are going to be experiencing, and suddenly you realize this man is very quiet. Human behavior is so very mysterious, it springs surprises. So learn to be ready to expect surprises and you'll realize, oh my God, it's not what I think. Prediction is okay, but then the good news is be ready for anything good or new to happen. It can also be the bad news. A person who's very quiet all along, you take his quietness as a very good person, excellent human being, and the same scenario, you walk into his room in one afternoon and this fellow becomes too wild and you wonder, hey, what went wrong? Then we call him names. We say this guy is gone crazy. This guy is not like this, because there are expectations based on the behavior that we exhibit. Right? You expect that if I am behaving in a certain manner for 3 or 4 or 5 days, you get used to that behavior. You reset your comfort zones of communication with me. And when you do that, there comes an expectation in you. And one fine morning I come and I exhibit a behavior other than what you're expecting, and my God, you start feeling shaken. Now, are we all comfortable naturally when we come across people whose behaviors are not consistent? Are we all, or most of us, are we comfortable with people who exhibit inconsistent behavior? Answer is no. Because your inconsistent behavior daily shakes my comfort zone. One day you are very sweet with me, another day you start firing me, third day you get very much violent with me, fourth day you don't talk to me. Imagine such a type of a roller coaster of a behavior. What happens? People can't handle that person. But my dear friends, if you can learn the art of handling all these different types of behavior, you are an expert. You can do a great job. Because people come in different shapes, sizes, colors and background. When people come from different backgrounds, we don't know what they are carrying in them. We don't know what people are carrying. We can't be predictable. The whole world will say, the whole office will say, this is the nicest guy we have come across. But don't be too sure. Even the most nicest guy who has got an award of the nicest man, a global award of the nicest man on earth, might spring a surprise of being very ugly one fine morning. And then don't cry foul. Hey, how could he do this? Because all of us can do anything. That's what behavior says. What is triggering my behavior? I may not know totally. None of us know totally. To an appreciable extent, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. But deep within me, there are too many layers. This is a part of psychology. And those layers God knows what is going on. So we can't be sure. So when we are not sure, let us be open when we are looking at people. This is something I tell myself and I tell my people whom I train in corporates and including my students. I said, be open. We never know who's going to spring a surprise. A person who was very horrible till yesterday may turn out to be very sweet today. Just because he has become sweet, don't get too very taken up. It's possible he may go back again. Behavior is like a wind. We don't know in what direction it will go, when, where, how. Learn to first catch this panorama, then you'll realize that you yourself are a part of it. There's what I call it as a method in the madness called behavior. There's a method in the madness called behavior. Right? Having said this, let's take it further. Historical development of human relations and OB. That's the title of this chapter, and that's what we are discussing right now. Human relations always existed, though scientific study of such relations and consequent behavior is of recent origin. Like I told you, we have been working with each other. People have been working with people for ages. Ever since mankind existed on planet Earth, we have always been working together. But nobody ever thought about looking at human behavior in a very focused manner. It's been going on, right? Now, prior to the Industrial Revolution, people were either self-employed or working in small groups. Now, if I am a potter, I am making pots. Pre-Industrial Revolution I'm talking. So, I will be making pots, I will be having a group of people around me, a coterie of people around me. Now, how will these people come? Will I go for an advertisement in the papers? Will I go for recruitment selection? Will I go to some agency? No. I am doing what is called as an artisan's job. And when I am doing an artisan's job, I will catch hold of people with whom I am comfortable. I will catch hold of my next door in my village, next door his son, because that boy likes me, so I will catch hold of him. So here what we do, it all happens very nebulously. There is nothing defined, nothing scientific. Okay? So small people were there, small groups were there, and in the group dynamics was easy to handle because we knew each other. And there was when I know you, I had the freedom to correct you also. Okay? This is how it was operating at that point of time. Now, there were issues regarding working conditions and resources which were managed in an appropriate manner. A little bit of problem they had about working conditions not being there, some tools not available, so they were able to make do. There was nothing, people were not taking anything towards human beings. A person used to come and walk for 10 miles or 12 miles from his village to the workplace, to the place where the pots were being made. It was okay. It was taken as a part of the whole thing. So there was nothing like a leave travel allowance or some pick up and drop bus. Today we have nothing of that sort existed. It was taken for granted that this is it. So the HR part of it was not existent those days. Right? Then came, and since the numbers were not large, the issues were small and the solutions were very easy to find. If, for example, one of my workers came very late from the village from where he is because of some problems, I should say, okay, don't worry, sleep here. Tomorrow morning you can go from here or you can keep working here. Informal. Things were very different, not structured. I didn't tell him that, look, it's already 5 o'clock, 9 to 5 you work here, out you go, I don't care what you do. No. There was nothing like a structured office, a structured industrial area, no. All that came only after the Industrial Revolution. What we learned in principles of management, economic depression, Industrial Revolution, and then structuring of production. Machines came and the man-machine interface increased. At one point of time, the machines started dominating man because they were giving more production. When machines start dominating man, man gets intimidated. What do you mean by intimidated? He starts becoming a slave to the machine because machines are making him prosperous. When machines make me prosperous, what do? I am more machine focused, less man focused. And when I am less man focused, what happens? I take men for granted. This was what was happening immediately after the industrial boom. Not that people meant anything against each other. It is just that they took each other for granted. And during that time, without their own knowledge, because of the goals which I had to achieve and you had to achieve, we both got into some sort of interpersonal issues. Right? Taking this further, friends, with the advent of Industrial Revolution, when the Industrial Revolution came in and mass production started, Levels of earning went up, supply of goods went up, working conditions also improved. And the human element gradually started playing an important role in systemizing business. It was popularly believed that machines can replace men. But today we know for sure any amount of automation. You may go to a virtual reality also. At the end of it, there's a human being who has to run a virtual reality. All of us know about it. Right? And then the other issues came. So we had a category of people called managers. Managers were born. I've written managers in inverted commas. Now what do you mean by managers in this context? Managers are the people who have to manage. I've given a definition of manager in Principles of Management. That is optimum utilization of available resources. Anybody who does that is a manager in that context. In this context, manager means he had to manage human behavior. He had to manage relationships of people. He had to manage the resources to produce goods or services. That was the manager we're talking about. You can't control people, you have to manage people. When you control, there's always a backlash. Human behavior cannot be controlled. Human beings should not be controlled. Human beings need to be managed. It's like a water flowing. The water sometimes flows on the bend because there's a tree. It has to go over the rock because there's a rock. And a manager needs to have this skill. All managers are excellent in technical skills. But in social skills of managing people, there are very few people who are experts. Because they do not have that expansive way of looking at every behavior with an openness. When you look at behavior with an openness, friends, you will find that you are an excellent manager because man management comes first. Other resources management comes later. Give me a very good man manager and I can show you that he can make the company go to heights. Very few companies belong to this category.